Who is breathing? If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, click the button on the bottom right, turn notifications on, and then you'll be informed when I upload new content. I'd like to explore in the next 8 to 10 minutes the relationship we have, or don't have, with our bodies, our biology, our physiology. And so the title is trying to ask the question about who or what is breathing. Often meditation techniques concentrate on the breath as a way into the silent mind. And it's no coincidence that breath or breathing is used in that way, because it makes us focus upon something that for the vast majority of our life we take for granted. Breathing. Now, there are lots of processes that this body just gets on with through the autonomic nervous system, including the heart beating and the hormones that are produced, and a lot of our reactions are before we are consciously aware of them. Our whole physiology seems to be working in the background on its own. And that goes for breathing too. We don't have to consciously be aware of breathing. When we need more oxygen, our breathing increases and our heart rate increases. And so the body regulates these functions without our conscious effort, without us being in control or needing to be in control, thank heavens. By the same token, of course, we realize that we need to breathe, we need oxygen, and we need it regularly, and we can find that out by holding one's breath and seeing what happens. It's difficult and not recommended. Breathing techniques, of course, can alter one's state of conscious awareness, and this can be linked sensibly in a controlled way through practice in meditation. But for the vast majority of us, we take that for granted. So, who is breathing? I can say I'm breathing, but by the same token, am I? I could say I'm beating my heart, but the heart is beating. Breathing happens in the same way. I'm not involved. I don't need to be involved. I'm aware of it if I can't breathe, and I'm aware of it if the heart stops beating, but I'm not in charge of that process. I don't have to give it a moment's thought. It's only when that process is interrupted that I'm aware of it. Now, this may all sound fairly obvious, but if we give it some thought, where does that leave the sense of I am, the sense of being a person in a body, or with a body, or being embodied? If I am at the mercy of that body, in as much as I have no control over the things that are vitally important to my survival. It seems so obvious that if we take breathing and isolate it, we can pick other functions of the body that happen without our control, but let's focus on breathing. Where does that leave the sense of being in control, being a separate, isolated individual who can act and function in the world, when the most vital process in the acting and functioning is outside of one's control? It happens despite our story, despite the I am. It happens despite our struggles and triumphs and failures and hopes and dreams. It just happens. And I would argue that in that same sense of just happening, breathing has a parallel, and that is the pure conscious awareness that comes before we get involved with the story of I am. In my book, No Path to Enlightenment, I call it the I before I am, or the absolute. And this is the mystery of life. Just as there is a mystery behind how we breathe, or what is it that is breathing, so there is a mystery of what is underneath our psychology, our story, our personality, our temperament. Because there is something there, or more accurately, there is a mystery there that we can point to, but we cannot know. Just as breathing happens, there is something deep and essential to our being that just happens, and it just happens despite us, not because of us. In other words, it doesn't need us. Just like most of our bodily functions and physiology doesn't need us. It doesn't need the story of me to simply function and be. And so who is breathing? No one is breathing. What is at the core of our very being? No thing is at the core of our being. Nothing. It's a mystery. It is the Tao, the flow of life that happens and unfolds and is. And it doesn't have a before and after, doesn't have a birth and a death, it doesn't exist in linear time with a story of past, present and future, but simply is. And we can recognize that because there is a parallel to that in breathing. As you've been watching this 9 minutes video, that's been happening in the background for you, and obviously for me, and for every conscious person who is watching. That's what we have in common. But that isn't us. It's vital to this life, but it isn't the story of me or the story of you. It is completely separate. It's a different paradigm. And so it's a good way in, and it's a good pointer for your essential nature, which is like breathing. It doesn't require your involvement. It comes before the story of you, and arguably it carries on after the story of you.